Welcome to A Wider World. Today's show is about drug and alcohol addiction. Addiction is a terrible disability that affects millions of Americans every day. The following stories are true.
Addiction basically has run rampant in my family, and my mother was one of the most severe alcoholics that I've ever known to this day. A complete binge drinker, and she was in the midst of her drinking during most of my childhood. I was the youngest, and my parents were divorced when I was 4, and we lived with my mother, and she drank heavily, and she would drink for weeks on end. And I started drinking back in, say, junior high school, that it just clicked with me right from the get-go. And I thought it was my best friend, and it was going to get me where I wanted to go in life. And it just progressed and progressed and got worse and worse. I had countless legal troubles with it, with my drinking. My career never took off. I changed careers several times. Never married. Went through relationship to relationship throughout my 20s and 30s, and I don't know, it was just a downward spiral.
I actually was given alcohol at a very young age. At family weddings, me and the cousins drank alcohol. I got drunk with my mother when I was 13 at her second wedding. And when I first really started drinking with my friends, I was about 15. I first started having blackouts at 17 when I ran away from home. And I remember my best friend and I at the time kept a diary of you know, like how many days in a row we were wasted, whether it was on acid or just alcohol or you know, whatever have you. And we tried to make as many days in a row as possible, and we were proud of that. Then I fell into a deep depression and wanted to kill myself, and I was had locked myself in the bathroom and was going to drink a bottle of Clorox bleach until somebody saved me, and then I got pregnant at 19.
My son was a senior in high school. He was an all-A student, got a full ride to Wayne State. He was going to go into forensics or chemistry. And my son had an accident and fractured his heel bone. And it was misdiagnosed, and they kept saying it was a heel, and it didn't heal, and he had to have major surgery and was put on pain medication. It seemed like from that point, his life spiraled out of control, from one substance to another, until heroin use in his mid-20s. He told me that he felt normal, that he felt like he fit in when he was high on drugs. The expectations for your child changes as they get into drug use. I mean, you have this high expectations. You know, they're going to go to college, they're going to get married, they're going to have children. But as they get into drug use, you're just happy that they showed up. You never feel settled when someone's using drugs, because you don't know. Every day you think the phone's going to ring, and it's going to be someone on the other end saying, "I'm sorry, but your son didn't live." But that day we had finally had enough, and my husband said, "I don't care, you get to your probation meeting any way you have to get there, you know, take the bus, whatever, I'm done driving you." And that day he hopped on a bus with the money he had, went to a hotel on 8 Mile in Gratiot, and took his life.
Paramedics came over, they told me to move, and I remember hearing them say, no pulse, so then I thought, God, I've been doing this CPR and nothing was happening. You know, I was kind of shocked. And so they put him in the ambulance and I went with them after we were in the hospital and they were doing everything they had to do. The kid called me back and said he took heroin, and I said, heroin? What do you mean heroin? He said, yeah, he snorted heroin, that's what they tell me. After 2 days of being on the ventilator, and his brain was swelling, and they said that was a danger that could happen. And they told us that, you know, they did the test and he was brain dead. And they asked us if we wanted to donate organs. We decided that that's what Andrew would want to do. And so he was an organ donor. And that's the only good thing that came out of all of this.
Drug addiction is very complex. Many people don't understand addiction or why some individuals become addicted to drugs. They often view drug use and addiction as a social problem, and those who use drugs as having low moral character or weak character. They believe that individuals make a choice to use. It's a willing act, indeed a poor choice, and therefore should be able to stop using simply by making a choice to change their behavior. It's just not that simple. Addiction is a chronic, debilitating, often relapsing disease. It's defined by signs of tolerance, withdrawal, and compulsive, or what we call out of control use. Although an individual may make an initial decision to use drugs, over time, repeated use causes significant changes in the functioning of the brain. And these changes affect the person's self-regulation or control, and they send strong impulses to seek and use drugs. These impulses are often irresistible. This is very complex and hard for people to understand. Through research, advances in brain imaging techniques, and accumulated experience and wisdom, we know much more about how drugs impact or work on the brain. We also know that drug addiction can be successfully treated, oftentimes with a combination of medication and psychological treatments. Most people have heard of the chemical dopamine. Dopamine is a chemical that naturally occurs in the body. Dopamine activates a natural reward system in the brain that produces the sensation of pleasure. Dopamine rewards certain behaviors, and this system plays a critical role in basic adaptation and survival. Drugs activate the same system, but they do so much, much stronger and longer lasting. Drugs flood the brain with dopamine. With repeated drug use, the dopamine reward system becomes significantly changed, where now the brain requires an increased level. This is called tolerance. Now the brain requires more drugs to feel the same high or pleasure, and without drugs, the person is in a state of deprivation. The brain does not activate even normal levels of dopamine. Dopamine deprived, the person can't feel much pleasure, they lack interest in things, there's no excitement, they feel anxious, depressed. Now the person experiences very strong impulses to seek and use drugs. The drug makes them think about using, and it takes over the body. They feel and become desperate. This is the origin of compulsive use. They use despite severe consequences, sometimes catastrophic consequences. Loss of marriage or job, maybe custody of their children, decreased health, recurrent legal problems, and more.